The cyberspace is home to billions of people and is the right platform you need to grow your business. The Center for Innovation and Technology is offering you a golden opportunity to speak directly to your market at an affordable price. We also offer media training workshops, live streaming, documentary production, and events management. Get in touch with us today on the following numbers: +263 867 7190 or 0718 235. Don't forget to subscribe to our social media platforms. Like our Facebook page, Center for Innovation. Follow us on Twitter @SiteZW. Check out our website, Moffat Avenue, Hillside, Bulawayo. Take advantage of this opportunity to expand your business.
Utshwala yikho kunye ngikhala ngakho kakhulu. It's too expensive. You can't buy it dump at $3.50.
Siyahlala ezindlini asahambi. Imali yakhona siyayibona ngapha singasebenzi.
So damas plus are some $40. What is happening? We don't understand.
Oil at $35. At $79.
Welcome to Community Conversation. Ownership rights. The residents have the responsibility to build. So what we did in our modeling is to look at their financial capabilities and how, based on those limitations, they can be assisted to make sure that they can upgrade Makokova in terms of housing and other amenities required. Well, you know, when you're identifying a new social structure and based on those new social requirements and the historic, what we came up with is not just we are building houses. Remotely count other needs which come with education. Like we find within Makokova there is no high school, there's no hospital, and because of history we saw that we want to maintain the history. There's nothing within Makokova that captures the history. Yeah. So we said we will have something that is going to document the history properly. So that comprehensively was a model to say this place is close to town. And when you look at Bulawayo as a city itself, it's an old city. I mean, people who died in the 60s, 70s, if they were to come back to life, they lost within Makoko. because there's nothing nature that is happening. With new architecture and the skills, employment, income levels, and then also included as part of the package that they should be a skills development center, which will be by Pipet Makukova and even Makukova. But those skills are tailored that people can easily be empowered without necessarily having certain skills development programs which can facilitate that.
So this is the housing development. There's high unemployment, there's crime. We want to address those things. Given what has happened in the past, we want to make them realize of their houses, not just as a house to stay, as an investment. So you enhance the quality, so that even if a person decides to say, look, let me rent out, he is getting a decent income from the house. Right now they're probably getting 60. So we want to make a stage much higher than what it is at the moment.
So let's have a house with 7th Street, semi-detached or whatever. Then in our area, all these houses are demolished and you build another nice flat and then I stay there. So do I then move with my title deed is then transferred to the house that you're building?
No, the way the development is structured is that to obviously come up with a new local subject plan. And based on that new local subject plan, we'll then have a plan on how the houses are going to be built or the block of flats. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at plan stage, we'll then have a title surveys done. Currently, whilst the Makova people have title to the properties, they have block title. Actual title surveys by units have not been done. But this offers an opportunity now where title surveys for each sectional title.
So people, what is owned is just a block of flats and not, if I stay in Makokova, I don't have ownership to my house.
No, you have ownership.
Yeah.
But in terms of title itself, it's a block title. This here, it is known, it is owned by residents. All of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't use that as collateral?
No, but after this here, that will be possible. But the plan is that the title deeds will be generated prior to actual development. They will be available because of the way the funding is structured. They will be kept, but the residents will have copies of their title deeds. And after completion, they are then given their physical copies of title deeds.
Yeah, so I'll come to the issue of funding. But for now, I mean, this is a project that is huge, of course, and you cannot do it without the blessing of the council and all those kind of things. What has been, I mean, the reaction from City Council?
I think when we did the modeling, obviously we were getting information from council. You know, the total number of units who are there, who owns what, we have a local plan as it is now. We have to identify every piece of land and every piece of land to say who owns that piece of ground and how it's going to be affected by the redevelopment. So the funding is tailored to...
No, I'm saying before you get to the funding, like what has been your relationship?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. No, I was coming to that.
Yeah.
You know, to kickstart the project, the first phase, we need to have virgin ground within the vicinity of Makoko, where in terms of the project appraisal, we call it a prototype. The prototype, the first phase, it will actually be a projection of future Makoko. So we needed to buy some land within Makoko from council,
Yeah.
which is not attached to houses, but council land. That is where the project stopped, because the council officials then said they will facilitate, the project implementation by making sure they get the necessary approvals, which was 2015. So it stopped there, and then in 2016 they came up to say they've got the resolutions, but they did not disclose that they are not the initiators of the project. Some people acted as if they are the initiators. Issues started coming up, and so on and so on. And then maybe they thought we were seen to be the ones now taking. They advertised a lot of quality and they put in Mokoko to, and it stayed that submitted, and then happened until late last year. They said those who took the forms and so on and responded, they should give detail on how they want to do it. And we did that. They never came back till in July. They wrote to say that they've rejected our proposal.
So you go to with the project to them, they accept it.
Yeah.
They go to the extent of advertising, although it's your idea. They are now floating it around as if it's something that they thought of.
Yeah.
Then after going all those processes, then they say they've rejected your idea.
Yeah.
But what stops them from picking another bid and then pushing your idea as if it's theirs?
I think where we are not aware of anyone who has been in contact with residents. Whoever wants to build must have consent of residents. I mean, it's like in your yard, no one can just come and say they want to build. Since 2013, we've been in touch with the community. We've had meetings with them at Stanley Hall and small meetings and so on. So everyone knows that that project was initiated by ourselves. And also, you cannot impose and say so-and-so should be the contractor or should be the project promoter. We are aware that there's obviously lack of transparency in many things. I'm not ruling that people could be genuine, but you can't rule out that there could be some lack of integrity.
But Mapos, I mean, Bulawa has always complained that we don't have investors, we want people to invest in the city. You go with such a good idea, I'd say this is what we want to do. You're not asking money from them, but just a piece of land for a prototype, and you get a rejection. I mean, what's your impression then about the whole thing about we need people to invest in the city?
It's difficult, obviously, to read someone's mind. But one would have expected that Makoko is not the only suburb that needs a facelift. You've got Mkoyenja, you've got Baba Fields, you've got Imenyela, Stojiwe, many other areas that are crying out for redevelopment. So I don't think you can have enough investors to tackle all those areas. So there's so much scope out there. In any case, this hasn't been done before. So why not test the waters with this one? So that would be my view, that perhaps instead of we're being too cautious. Sometimes you need to look at these things and say, look, there's no risk on council itself. There's no risk on the residents. Who will be carrying the risk? So if you look at it that way, I think as long as you are sure that the interests of the residents are taken care of legally, I don't see anything that stops permission or consent being granted.
Bawuswanda, we now have a new council. Have you tried to engage with the new group of councillors on the issue?
No, not really. I think when you look at the new Procurement Act, the decision lies with management, not with councillors. Management are the ones who should make a decision. So the frustration or lack of progress is not necessarily due to councillors. It's at management level.
maybe they had concerns. Did they raise concerns with you that you say you might not have the capacity, it will affect the residents? Did they give the reasons why they rejected the project?
There's nothing valid. Nothing valid, not no substance to talk about. In fact, when we got the letter saying the proposal were turned down, we spoke to them, brought to them. We never got anything from them. And, it's, you know, I'm a consultant apart from being just an accountant. And whatever that one does, you benchmark against best practice. And that project practice, you can take it to anywhere. It will meet the test. Yeah.
So moving on to that, maybe the other issue is money. How do you intend to fund this kind of work? What is around it?
It's self-funded. It's a self-funded project. It regional projects here, lots of financial structures. And the financial structure is there. It may not be communicated in public, but there's a financial structure that funds it.
So,
and it's so the way the investment is structured, because the most important thing is from the prospectors who are interested in their area, take up.
Can be answered when you do the prototype.
Yeah.
You know. Of the project. To me, that is where everything starts.
Yeah.
You know, there will always be doubters when everything starts. But that opportunity, when presented, to say, right, here is that piece of land that you wanted to do for a prototype. Now do your prototype. Now that prototype serves two things, at least. The first, you are now starting the project. We're moving people and housing them in that prototype. You know, they get a feel of the quality of housing that we are giving them. You know, and then then they move out. Another set of people moves in. You know, that's the.
So basically, for you to do this prototype, you need land.
Yes.
They give you land or you buy it?
Buy it.
We want to buy it.
In fact, when we them, they mentioned that they would sell to us on a basis.
Meaning you buy it for a certain period of time.
You buy, develop, and to be symbolic of the future of Makoko. So it's structured such that it has about 400 units, security all around. Access control, and it's part of the used to house people from Makoko.
So where has it worked before?
That's what is happening in the. I mean, you look at all these countries who are trying to rejuvenate their economies, Russia and Moscow. Get the construction sector, and the construction sector absorbs a lot of, sectors of the economy, generates employment. In Newcastle, in the UK, urban sprawling. A lot of countries are, urban sprawling is good agricultural land. You go, but people are avoiding urban sprawling by going to the old cities and redoing them. So it's something that's there. That's what many people are doing in the US. There's lots of regeneration of old suburbs. South Africa, they've places where they've done regeneration of old suburbs. So it's not something new. There's lots of literature around the regeneration that's available. Yeah.
I want to say that one thing that we need to learn is that a suburb is not just a place where people live. View it as an economic entity on its own, and those minor economic entities then making up the city. The mayor should sit there and say, I'm presiding over an economic entity, and all those opportunities that present themselves must be looked at and exploited. This is what generation needs to look at.
I think when you look at the way Makokoba is structured, it is a typical work-class regeneration. Because what you have looked at, not just housing, but the holistical, all dimensions that affect the well-being of society. Yeah.
So if we were to start to do this project, let's say if City Council today says here is the land, how long would it take you to finish the whole Makokoba project?
The offtake of houses by non-Makokoba residents is what would determine the pace. With the fragile economy like we have, it can be difficult, but in our forecast we put it at 5 years. We phased it in 5 years. But if the offtake is faster, it can be done within a shorter period.
So you were looking at, maybe, let's say, currently you are saying there are about maybe 3,000 households, let's say maximum 4,000.
The 4,000 households.
Yeah.
Initially, we have a gain of another 4,000, about 8,000. Be doubled as such, they'll be close to. Slight changes in the model. There's certain funding that got to know about the project. There's no formal employment in the country. If you are going to working at lower capacity, enhancing that capacity, employing more people, and so on. So it will generate a lot of and government is looking for FDI. It is now actually based on FDI.
Well, you and probably you looks like you've cancelled to actually reconsider.
No, the most important people are the owners of that place. The residents are the one who should decide who works with them. If you have to break the breakthrough is that residents properly consulted and informed. They should decide who actually want. Yeah, they should decide what they want. Like I mentioned, since 2013, we have had several meetings with them. And we've shown them the architectural drawings, and just as a model, not to say it's conclusive, but just a typical modern flat, what it looked like. So they know the model and the benefits it will bring to them. It's just maybe getting them properly organized so that they decide. So collect, because it's you see, when you are going to do your house, you make the decision by yourself. But when you are going to do something that affects many people, it means you are working collective. So it's the collective of residents who then should say, we want this thing, it should be done. So from a public interest point of view, and I think, a vision cannot be transferred to somebody else.
Yeah.
One can try, but they will not do it properly. They'll compromise. But people who start any project, the motives are different from somebody who comes in when something is already on the way.
So are residents really excited about this project, or they have reservations?
There's no doubt.
They're excited. They're really excited. Yeah, they actually, from the meetings we have had them, they think it's one of those things in this country where people announce mega deals, nothing happens. They make reference to many projects which have been spoken about and nothing is materialized. But this project is, the funding is well structured. It's very well structured. I think, you find most times the reason why projects tend not to take off ground, they are not properly structured and modeled. Where you have structured a deal and looked at the risk factors, technically, and then the financial side, the two fitting into each other, then you can put blood to start a project in this manner. So the most important thing about a project is to make sure that it can live, and life is in the blood in this manner. So the most important thing is just to put in mind.
Yeah. So any additions to that?
Right. Maybe just to say that the residents are excited. They definitely want this thing, and I don't think they should be denied the right to chart their own course. Let the project fail on its own, but not be denied the opportunity to manifest itself.
It should not be denied by bureaucracy. Yeah.
So there's someone who would say, ugogo uhlala laphana phansi ku ground floor, ulendlu yakhe. Then we are building a flat. Asoze sakwanisa ube kata ama steps into zinjalo. How are you factoring those issues?
All those things were taken care of. Like I said, that it's not just me and him in this thing. Experts were brought in to look at this, and there will be social workers looking at these things. There will be lawyers in this thing. We've got engineers, we've got cost managers. So you've got all these things that are going to be. There are many problems that we anticipate, but we are putting in place skills that will be able to address these things. We even say to ourselves, we need to preserve maybe one house. That would be a museum. We'll get experts to look at that. The naming of the structures and everything. You will have experts looking at all that, preserving the history of Makoko. So we are going way beyond all the other attempts at redeveloping Makoko that have been done in the past. And we want to make it a standard of how this thing is done in developing countries.
Yeah. So I think this is one of, like I said, a very exciting project, and something that I think the people of Bulawayo and the people of Makokowa are looking forward to, and we hope that soon you are going to find the middle ground with council and definitely do something. But my last words to you is, are you very optimistic that eventually you are going to reach an agreement?
Sure. I am.
Yeah, you can, maybe the two of you can, you can start. Yeah.
No doubt at all. It will be done.
I think when we look at the stakeholders, I think the problem that I think as a country faced, we have a few individuals who think they should be making decisions which negatively or otherwise impact public interest. I think it's a bad mindset. That's why our country is not moving forward. So progressive ideas and solutions are not being implemented. And in most cases, the reason may be why projects like this don't get done. It's because the main stakeholders never get to know about them. Because when you look at a suburb such as Makoko, you'll find there are many people who have houses in Makoko who don't live in Makoko. There are many people who have interest in Makoko who are outside the country or even elsewhere, who are not aware of what's happening. But when something is brought to the fore, and then people know, then those who are the actual owners of the place take possession. And I'm sure then they will make sure what is correct is done.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing with us this exciting project about the regeneration of Makoko, and we hope that very soon there will be agreements with City Council and the project will go ahead. Thank you.